Hello again, my name's Daniel, welcome back to my channel. Guilty Feet, I've got no rhythm. And today I'm going to do a book tag. I was tagged by Roz at Scallydandling about the books. Thank you, Roz. And I like the fact this is an old tag that was originated 2 years ago by Mark Nash and did the rounds and has sort of resurfaced again, so I'm happy to do something like that because I think these questions are probably a little bit perennial. And it's the last 10 books tag. And the first prompt is the last book you didn't finish. So this is a bit of a shameful one. I don't DNF. So let's start by that. So this is a big deal for me. Since I started reading, really up my pace reading, I decided that I was not going to DNF. So I haven't done the DNF tag because I don't DNF. I finish everything I start. But of course, like every rule, there are exceptions. And the last book that I started, read, and put aside, so it doesn't get discarded forever, Bleak House by Charles Dickens. I was just so slowed down and bogged down in it. I had lots of books that I wanted to read, and I just said, okay, I'm going to put this down and try and build up my momentum again. And I haven't picked up since. I know I will get to it maybe this year. I haven't read any other Dickens since, so I've read 5 or 6 Dickens books. And I was a late comer to Dickens, and the reason was that in the house that I grew up, my parents' house, there was a complete leather-bound set of everything that Dickens ever wrote that my father must have bought from a travelling salesman, or however one purchased those things in those days, and it sat on top of in the dining room on the very top shelf, and it was there taunting me for many years. And so I didn't read any Dickens because I said, you know what, one day all this will be mine, and I will get these and I will read them, and I will own this set, and I will be able to display them when I have my own home. I think the only one I ever read in that edition was A Tale of Two Cities, and just never got around to it. And then left home, moved. I mean, I'm still in touch with my parents, but left home, grew up, so became a reader who would go and buy the things I wanted. So didn't buy a lot of Dickens because I was always going to get. Anyway, long story short, when my parents moved house, they got rid of a whole bunch of stuff, including a whole lot of books, including that complete leather-bound set of Dickens, including the complete literary works of Winston Churchill, which I probably wasn't that keen on getting to, and all went, I think, a man from the book village Hay on Wye came with a van, and everything got loaded up into the back of his van and taken away. So I had to start if I was going to be a Dickens reader. Anyway, I've read 4 or 5 Dickens. This the date inside it when I bought it is October 2002. I don't think I read it then. I think it might have taken me 2 or 3 years, but it's probably been, if you'd asked me, I might have said 5 or 6 years since I put it down, but it could be longer. I will get to it, but that is probably the last book I didn't finish. Next one, the last book you reread. Well, as well as not DNFing books, I tend not to reread books. The exception being is if I'm reading a collection of graphic novels, or trade paperbacks of graphic series. As I pick up each one, I sometimes go back and read all the others that come before. So I'm going to choose as the last book that I reread is Brian K. Vaughan's Saga. This is drawn by Fiona Staples, and this is volume 3, which means that the last edition that I read was volume 4, so this would be the last one I reread. I actually have volume 5 waiting for me, so at some point I will read 1 through 4 again, and then 5, and I've ordered 6 and 7, I think, are waiting at my mum's in London. So I probably at some point, I'll, just to refresh my memory, if it goes months without before I get a new volume, then I have to catch up. So I think volume 3, which was a library, I got this from a library, you can see it was all not in great condition, from the Tulsa City County Library. If anyone's ever been to the Tulsa City County Library, let me know. This is no longer in circulation there. Volume 3 of Saga was the last book that I reread. The last book I bought, well, I bought a bunch of books on eBay that I don't have, that I've sent to my mum's in London. So technically the last book that I bought was this week. I bought a copy of Marc Chagall's My Life, a Penguin Modern Classic. Looks like a beautiful second-hand edition of that. So that's technically the last book I bought. The last book I bought, which I have here was Know My Name by Chanel Miller, which I got from Book Depository and had sent to me here in Israel. This showed up on a lot of people's best books of last year, and I think it showed up on a lot of very different people's books of last year. So people who only read YA, or people who read a lot of fantasy, motorcycle in the distance, people who read widely, or people who read narrowly. Everyone who read this said how fantastic it was, and I think they were all correct. It's a really outstanding work about a woman reclaiming her name after being anonymized following her sexual assault and the trial that follows. It is really, really an amazing piece of writing, an amazing story, fine bit of prose, and a devastating story behind it, but being able, choosing to publish in her own name, reclaiming that agency, reclaiming that identity is at the very heart of this, and that's a story that goes from here and is universal across many people's experiences. I really recommend this. It is an absolutely outstanding book. Know My Name by Chanel Miller. The last book you said you read but didn't. So this is a lot. I mean, I don't think I do this a lot. If I do, if someone knows that I've done this, I'm sorry. The situation I thought of is sometimes it's easier to lie than tell the truth, and I think I've said before, when people know that you're a reader, they're often trying to impress you with the books they've read or talk to you about books they've read. And I remember a conversation I had with a guy who was very keen to he knew I read. I think he'd been in the apartment even before I had these shelves. He'd seen a lot of books, and he started talking about the last great book he'd read. And he just said, of course you've read The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, and I haven't read Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, and it's not high on my list of books that I want to read. And it was just easier to say rather than be sort of terribly snobby. And no reason to be snobby about it. I haven't read it, but I haven't read it. I don't particularly desire to include it in the thing for no real good reason. I heard it's a real page turner, but I just sort of said no, because I didn't want to argue, and he was so pleased with being able to talk books with me. So I think probably I might have given the impression that I had read The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, and I haven't. I saw the movie, so that sort of helped me bridge that. The last book you wrote in the margins of. Well, I don't do this either. This is terrible. So I had to really think, have I ever? And I actually found an example. This is my prayer book that my grandfather gave me before my bar mitzvah. So there is To Darling Daniel, with love from Grandpa Sam, in 1981. This is for Rosh Hashanah. This is a festival prayer book. It says there, so the synagogue New Year, so that's for Rosh Hashanah. And there was one year when I, as part of the youth congregation of which I was an active member, where it was my turn to lead the prayers. So they would send us a tape of all the tunes, because there are special tunes for the High Holy Days, of which Rosh Hashanah are the first two. And so with this tape, I sat down ahead of time and went through the prayers and made little notes for myself in pencil in the margins. They're very faint. I don't know if you'll be able to see these. Just reminding myself of what the different tunes are. So it says very... I don't know if you can see it. It says here, it says sing, and there it says chant, and I was supposed to understand that what the singy part was and what the chanty part was, that's my that's probably the last time I've annotated a book. That is my Machzor Rosh Hashanah. The last book you had signed. So I don't do, I say that, I think I said in my last Friday Reads that I've actually ordered a signed copy of Mick Herron's latest book, Slough House. But I've done it. But I don't do a lot of ordering books that are signed. I'm not, but I do when I get the opportunity to go to an event where there's an author, and if I have read a book by the author, I will bring it with me and sign it. And I've occasionally gone to events with authors that I haven't read before, but I bought the book and had it signed, and then gone away and read it. So I have a few cases. I mean, the last time I got to go to an event was almost 2 years ago. So May 2019, the Jerusalem International Book Fair, or the International Writers Festival, I think it's called. It was an event that I started going to regularly. It runs over a week, and they have a lot of authors come from all over the world and come and talk, sit on panels and do all sorts of fun bookish stuff. And it usually takes place outdoors in this beautiful place in Jerusalem, which is right near Montefiore's windmill. It's a really gorgeous setting, and around about May time you can usually do stuff outside. So some of the lectures take place inside a lecture hall, but then they have sort of panel events sitting outside, and there's beer and nibbles, and it's a good time. So the last time I went, one of the people who had flown in was Lauren Groff of Fates and Furies, and I got a chance to chat with her before a panel event, or she actually read an unpublished story, which was super fun, and she signed my copy of Fates and Furies to me. So, to Daniel, Jerusalem 2019, with love. So that was, and she was perfectly charming. So yeah, there's nothing special about this. I don't mind lending it to people and think it's just a book, but I met her, and it was a way of, I think it's a nice way of establishing my appreciation by asking her to sign. I don't know, maybe it's a bit creepy, but I've got a few books that I've had signed. I don't think they're any more special than any of the other books I have, but it's fun to do. The last book you lost. Well, I mean, it's probably I don't have it. I don't know. I lend stuff to people, and sometimes it doesn't come back. One of the ones I know is not coming back is my copy of The Secret History by Donna Tartt, because I think I know who I lent it to, and when I asked them, they said, no, we definitely don't have it. But this was after they'd had a fire, and they had been put out by the fire brigade and had lost a lot of their belongings to to water damage. So I think my copy of The Secret History is lost, and it was the one I bought when it came out and paid back first time around. And I think among the books that I had lent to more people, it was I think my wife had read it and a few people had read it, and it was a really nicely beaten up, well used copy of a book that I had bought new. So yeah, I think that's it. The last book you had to replace, is an interesting one. I don't feel like I have to replace anything, even things I've lost or things that have worn out. Well, I still have them on the shelf. They're worn out. They just sit there, and I don't really tape them together. They sit there until they die. But here's an interesting one. So I have this beautiful copy of Ali Smith's Winter. It's catching the shine, that beautiful silver on her name, which is the second in her seasonal quartet. I didn't have to replace it. What I had to do was buy the next one that came after this. And after winter, of course, comes spring. So I sent off to Book Depository, but instead of buying spring, I bought another copy of winter. If anyone would like, I can't even give it to anyone, because it's the second in a quartet. But if anyone on BookTube, well, it's not in perfect condition, it's a bit of a thing there. If anyone on BookTube would like a copy of Ali Smith's Winter that has never been read, I haven't written in it or anything, I've even got the original padded envelope that it came in, but I'm happy to replace that. If you would like a copy of Ali Smith's Winter, please leave me a comment or send me an email at guiltyfeet@gmail.com, and I will be happy to find some way to get it to you. As long as you're okay with receiving post from Israel. No reason why you shouldn't be. Yeah. The last book you had an argument over. I don't. So, I mean, I don't have arguments over books, really. There's nothing. If there's something I really did not value very highly, but someone raves about, I'm not going to argue with them. If there's something that I love and someone tells me is a stinker, again, I'm not really going to argue with them. So it's not really a thing that I argue, but I have had a kind of online mini fracas over this book, probably in the comment section of the Tournament of Books, which is coming up soon. And I recommend people look up what the Tournament of Books is, because the comment section, when the tournament actually takes place every day, there is a match up between two books, and there's 16 books in the last thing, and they come down and choose the best book of the year. It's a really, really fun really thoughtful and smart debate goes on. But I did have a debate a couple of years ago when this book was in the running. This is The Mother's, a novel by Britt Bennett. This was my Book of the Month choice back then. I was only a member of the Book of the Month for a year, so this was in January 2017 I got this. Yeah, I really had lots of problems with this, to the extent that I have not read The Vanishing Half, and unlikely to, because I thought this had some really retrograde things to say about a woman's right to choose, and what happens to characters, women following abortions, and men following the abortions that the women have had. I found less than optimal. And I had, so I just expressed this in the comments, and some guy told me I was totally misunderstanding. It was a total misreading of what was going on, and I sort of looked. I did some research on Britt Bennett, and I cannot say before you hold my hand up and say yes, this woman is anti-abortion. I can't do it, and I wouldn't do it. And she may not be, but I couldn't say for sure, and I had a sense that it was just a little bit self-righteous, and I hate, make your own minds up. This was my reading of it. I don't reread books, which may be problematic, and someone told me I was absolutely wrong about that, and wrong for saying it. And I guess that's the closest thing I had to an argument about a book. And then the last prompt is the last book you couldn't get hold of. And I had a look at, and the last, I put in a bid for, oh God, I've got to remember the name of it now. It's Carlo Rovelli's 7 Lessons About Physics, something like that. And my bid was not high enough, and I didn't get hold of that book. That was on eBay, and so it's a slim volume, like 99 pages, but it's supposed to be terrific. And then I guess the other book that I've been trying to get hold of and haven't really found it at a decent price would be Maggie O'Farrell's Hamlet, which I might have bought if the brand new hardback was £20. Amazon in the UK was doing it for £14. I'd like to get it for a little bit less, and I was looking for it on eBay, looking for it. Haven't found it anywhere, and it's going to come out in paperback in the next couple of months. So I will probably wait until then and try and buy it, or either buy it new, or try and pick it up on eBay. If the hardback sometimes comes down when it comes out in paperback, not that I mind having a hardback or a paperback, but I'll be looking to pick it up at the right price. And so it was something I was actively trying to purchase and couldn't really get hold of. I guess that's it, and that's my tag. Oh, so I made some notes about who I wanted to tag in this, because I was very bad at this. So these are the people I'm going to tag, and I don't believe any of them have done it. I know this tag is a couple of years old, so I want to tag Danny at Spinelli Speaks, because I think she'll have some fun things to say. I want to tag Carrie at Very Literary Carrie, because she always has fun and smart things to say, and she was the first person to ever tag me, so back at you. And Duncan at Duncan McCurdy, who is knows more about noir and both film and book and detective fiction than most other people that I've met so far, and might have something interesting to say on this as well. So anyone else who wants to do this is fun. Thank you again to Roz. Thank you to Mark for coming out with it. Take care. Bye.